been practicing for 7 months at this point. I graduated in July of last year, and I started practicing shortly after that, and so it's been about 7 months of independent practice. I came to practice in San Antonio, Texas, first off because my wife is here. She's a resident at University Hospital, and so that was the first draw, a big draw for me. And because my wife and I both love San Antonio. It's a part of Texas we both appreciate, and we're happy to be here. We'll see if we last long term, but so far we've enjoyed it. I discovered my job through multiple resources. I had to do a lot of research on my own. I wasn't aware of some of the resources available initially. I had to go through recruiters, connections, personal connections, people I had worked with in medical school, residency, and connections from people through my residency. The biggest challenge for me in the job search process was knowing who to contact initially. I had a fair idea of where I wanted to practice, but I did not have direct connections initially, and knowing who to reach out to and who was a reliable source was difficult at first. And so in the end, it worked out. I was able to reach out to some recruiters and some contacts and connections I had made through work friends and advisors, but that was the most difficult part, is finding out who to contact. The most helpful thing for me in the job search process was having connections and people who had gone ahead of me and already done that process, reaching out to peers and colleagues who had just gone through that process prior to me, and figuring out what they had done and what they would have changed was the most helpful thing for me in figuring out what I needed to do for my job search. My biggest point of advice for residents searching for jobs is to start early. I think that is one factor that helped me tremendously, is that I started very early. Most residents wait until about 6 months before they finish their residency. I started over a year ahead, and that gave me enough time to adapt, to learn, and then to also make those connections. So this job that I currently in was one of the first places I actually interviewed with, but it was a long process. And I interviewed with a lot of people in between, but ultimately I was able to have that development of negotiating contract and discussing and knowing my value coming out of residency that helped me to procure this job. It's a hard transition for residents to get into practice. It's the first time that they have to step out on their own and figure out what their actual value is. Our value is determined for us by our residencies and our medical schools. And so knowing that value is hard to estimate, and knowing your potential and what jobs you would fit best into. And so I think, again, I'm going to reiterate my other points, is just that starting early, and not just in the job search itself, but knowing where you want to direct your career and putting those things in place during residency. So whether it be research or teaching or outreach, community work, all those factors play a huge role in the job you get in the end. And sure, they don't directly apply to the job you're in, but they help to prepare you and develop you into the career and physician you want to be.